Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. We are very honored to be joined by two guests, both from Addigy. Welcome, Michaela and Selina.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hello, hello. Good to be here.
Great to have you both. And so we have Michaela, product manager of Addigy Assist, and we got to meet you out at the ACES conference back in May. Sam and I did. Jerry sadly didn't, but and Selina is the product manager for pre-built apps, and these both released this year. So these are two like relatively new features of Addigy, and we're excited to talk to you both about them. So I got to play with both features recently, and I would say that they're both really easy to use, and people should just dive in and see how it works because there's no like you don't have to study anything, you don't have to like read a bunch of documentation. There's nothing really technical about just being able to dive in and play with it. So I shared this on the show. My earlier experience with Addigy Assist was like, let me try this out. So I wanted to I use a couple of temporary policies for things like my migration. So even if the client is not enrolled in our monthly plan, we still use Addigy to handle a remote migration process. So we temporarily install it. We use live desktop to like oversee the migration from old Mac to new Mac. And I thought, well, maybe I should just throw in Addigy Assist because like kind of like a perfect use for it once I understood what it was. So Michaela, do you want to share a little bit about like what it was and why I might find that like such an easy and interesting part of this process?
Yeah, so initially, I guess I'll start with why we built it to begin with. So, um, Addigy Assist is essentially designed to just show the end user what's actually going on. Oftentimes, when talking to not only end users but admins as well, people would describe it kind of like a black box. Like,
Hmm.
okay, when I'm initially enrolling a device, a ton of stuff is happening. I don't necessarily know when it's done. I don't
Hmm.
know what's being installed. And so oftentimes end users, they will open up tickets. So essentially, we had admins saying, hey, can you please come out with a feature that's similar to, a Swift dialogue
Right.
or, some other familiar tools out on the market today, where basically you can show the end user what's actually going on. And we were looking at a lot of the different options out on the market, and basically we saw that there was definitely a knowledge gap too. Like, how easy is it to set up these tools?
Right.
Right.
And so, how easy is it to actually, within hopefully less than 15 minutes, get up and running? And so,
Hmm.
out of all the options that we saw on the market, we're like, pretty much none of them lets you get up and going that fast. And
Right.
so that was our primary goal, was to make it as fast as possible, as seamless as possible, not only for the end user, but also for the admin as well.
Hmm.
That way you can, quickly make a policy, throw the assets that you want in there, determine if you want to show or hide them to the end user, because they
Yep.
don't need to see absolutely everything that's being installed.
Hmm.
Right.
But be able to see what's actually important to them. And
Yeah.
so that's where Addigy Assist was born.
Yep.
And so yeah, I we had a lot of feature requests and different things that got fit into the release.
Hmm.
So being like contact information, things like that, where it
Right.
also allows the end user to keep going. But
Hmm.
yeah, overall, I would say admins and end users are happier with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say I could definitely attest to the fact that it's, 15 minutes to set up, I mean that you met that goal. So nice, nice work.
Yes.
And for me, it's not only the visibility of like what's happening, what's being installed, it's visibility for our company. So, I mean, that's like a huge one for
Mhm.
my purpose. So, it might be a one-off client. Usually it's an ongoing client, but they're not a monthly plan subscriber. And so it's maybe a residential client or a very small business. And anytime we can have our stuff show up on their system in a considerate way, I don't want to throw a dialogue in their face and
Yeah.
like force them to read it or whatever.
Right.
But and actually, Addigy Assist has an option where you can either like you can be the sort of modal dialogue, right, or you can like allow them to like interact with other parts of the system. So you can be in their face if you want. But in this case, the idea was like I'm going to walk them through by phone, installing, installing Addigy essentially. And then I'm going to tell them what's happening, but it's nice for them to just see what's happening. So they see my logos there, my contact info. If we get disconnected, they can call me right back. Like they see that there's something on screen and there's a nice progress bar. And I can show if I'm installing apps, maybe not during a migration. Like if I'm just using it for that, I probably wouldn't show the apps, but it shows the progress of each app installation that like you said, that you choose to show. So it's really flexible in that way. Also, it had the flexibility that I needed to be able to adjust that, and it didn't have a lot of like complicated stuff that I needed to worry about. Unlike probably the comparison, like you said, would be Swift Dialog or something where
Or yeah.
you're starting more from scratch. And I was curious, Sam, have you used Swift Dialog in the past? Because it's on my list and I've just never taken the step, and that's largely to this point.
Yeah, no, there have been some, as Michaela alluded to, there have been some third-party tools out there. I mean, for years I was using something called DEP Notify, which was a real chore to set up. And I'm sure like everyone's in the MSP world pretty familiar with it, but it's really difficult to like get the hang of how to set that up and go through it and make it look good. And something that's customizable. Like I really like the one thing that I am latching onto is not showing the user everything, which is so key. And just making it like, here are your cool apps like Microsoft Office, but I'm not going to show you this tool that, because what happens is, like you mentioned, Michaela, with the tickets part is,
right,
if they see too much as well, like that part will lead to, hey, what is this IT? What are you guys doing? Or what are the IT overlords doing on my computer? So
right. Oh, I don't want that thing. Can you take it out? I don't like the idea of this tool. And it's like, no, it's not a like menu. Like this is, yeah, it's interesting. That's a good point.
Yeah, no, it looks great. I mean, the visualization of it all looks really sweet. Just the benefit of what the user sees. It looks very Mac-like, so to speak, and it kind of blends in with the OS. So that's the piece that I dig.
I would say like that was a huge piece that we were trying to future-proof this tool, this new app, because it is a Swift app. It's built with Swift UI. And it is something that we wanted to future-proof as much as possible. We wanted it to look modern. That way people are also proud to show it off. And even if your admins aren't, even if you don't necessarily set up these devices for the end user right away, like we might see, locations that are laboratories and you're setting up several devices all at once, I always recommend still use Addigy Assist and, show what's actually being installed. It's kind of nice to be able to see a progress of everything that's being installed all at once and see that status overall. And then you'll also see that on the Addigy side from an admin perspective, you will see it as device facts saying, hey, this completed. No, there was no failures that occurred. And, essentially you can then use flex policies from there if you wanted to create a more advanced workflow.
Very interesting. And the other new tool we're talking about today is, of course, pre-built apps. And Selina, you launched that, I think you said back in July. Was that the public release?
Yeah. So the public release, I think, was in July, midsummer. Nice. And we actually had a closed beta that ran, I think, from January of this year. It was a really long, it might win at Addigy for the longest running closed beta.
Wow.
It was a labor of love. But yeah, a lot of people, a lot of help. We had a lot of customers involved in the closed beta, and it was a pretty tight feedback loop of, okay, here's something. Please give us, your feedback. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? And we did do several pretty major revisions throughout that. So for everyone who was part of that, undying gratitude. They really did help shape that product.
I imagine so. Yeah, I always feel like I wish I had more time to devote to a lot of these, like to be a beta tester and to give feedback, because that's all, really important part of the product process. And I'm often like not the earliest adopter, certainly not the beta tester. Unlike Jerry, in a lot of cases, he's usually our kind of resident beta tester guy.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, right.
Production is key.
Caution to the wind,
Yeah. I'm running a beta right now on this production bag.
I was thinking it's kind of our job. Like it's, there
Oh
was a
yeah.
time like in the early days of this business for me where I was like, I get to run the latest Mac OS and I get to have all the latest Apple hardware and and now it's like, oh man, I have to run the latest Apple hardware and software. Like this is getting to be a drag now, and like, but it is kind of part of the job. But yeah, so what was some of the feedback that you got like from, from those early, I guess from the closed beta and then public?
Yeah, there was a lot. I think the easiest one and the one that's still continuously happening is what apps do you want to see, right?
Hmm.
Um, please tell us, what we had an idea, obviously, and we were a little selfish actually at Addigy, where we were also prioritizing apps that we internally use.
Sure.
So the whole company was on the open beta as well. So whenever we had major issues like the deferrals, so with pre-built apps, I guess take a step back for people
Yeah.
who haven't heard me talk about this, is a way to keep third-party macOS apps up to date, basically. And you can, it's a kind of built in a set it and forget it type way. My hope is that you really don't need to spend a lot of time with pre-built apps. You set it up and then you just forget that it's running. That's the
Right.
goal. It's like my product metric is that you forget it's there.
Nice.
You're not going to that page or doing, unless we add more things to the catalog, which we have been doing.
Hmm.
Um, but
It's also install and update, right?
yes,
So it's kind of also superseding this existing, public software catalog. So you had to like
yeah,
do all that as well as that was working and then more.
yeah, and then some. So like
Right.
we started with what was in public software, because that doesn't have the auto update, which is
Right.
just a pain to keep, making sure that you're unassigning it from the policy. And we tried to make that better in the
Yeah.
past, but it was a hassle and a pain point, and searching the catalog was super difficult. So we were
Mhm.
trying to create something that was easy to look at, but yeah, it'll install it. And we also have an update only option of
Yeah.
like, hey, you don't like browsers, right? I use Brave browser. A lot of people at Addigy use Firefox and Chrome and different. You as an IT admin, maybe you don't care what browser people are using. You just want to make sure whatever it is up to date.
Exactly.
Uh, and so it runs a condition script. Basically, it's like, hey, is this app there? If it is, what version is it? If the app is not there, then skip it. I don't care.
Right.
That
Nice.
was huge. That came pretty early in the feedback of like, oh, pre-built apps is great. Without that, I can't use it. I don't want to enforce
Okay.
8 browsers. And it's like, oh yeah.
Right.
Because me
Right.
and the engineering team that built it, we were part of like the alpha testing. So we got to personally experience all of the pain points of like, oh, cool. Yeah, I do have like 8 browsers installed on my machine because that's the only way to keep it up to date. That's not fun.
Right. That's not fun. Got it. So it's a lot of like extra downloads and it's just like taking up space. And yeah, I mean, that to me, like when I saw that you have the update only option, that solved a major like pain point that existed kind of from day one of like my service offering to clients. Like to your point, if they have a browser, like we just want it to be up to date. If they have, any of the like meeting software, that's got to be up to date. Things that are like vectors,
Yeah.
potential, more likely security issues. And that's in our offering. Like we say, we're managing this for you, we're keeping this up to date. And then doing that was kind of another side of it for us. And we're trying to roll our own with certain, apps and browsers. We're trying to, use the public software catalog. But like you said, there's just ways of like shoehorning that in to make it work. And it was a little bit, didn't exactly solve that trouble. And like third party tools and things. So the fact that in both of these cases, like when something is first party, in this case from Addigy, it's way more appealing because you can just go in and like click a few boxes and it's done. Whereas like otherwise I have to learn a new tool like Swift Dialog and learn how to deploy
Yeah.
it, bring it into Addigy, send it out to my machines. Or, I've been using Electrona Patch, another supporter of the
Mhm.
show, just before pre-built apps came out. And of course, if pre-built apps was there, just a little like at that time when I made that decision, because I knew I needed to stop rolling my own and just go with something, I had to learn it, and so I certainly would have used pre-built apps from the start. And now I'm comparing both. And I love the fact that I can just go into my existing Addigy catalog and either, and just check a few boxes, update only, or install an update, and it's pretty much I'm done. It's so great to have it in there.
So question.
Mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. What's the question?
Well, I think more of a statement, I guess, because the way I'm thinking about this is, talking about the public catalog and other methods of installation, the update only, for instance, doesn't really care where it came from originally, right? So if you installed Firefox manually or through another tool, this will take over the update management of that app, which is pretty key.
Yeah, for every single app except for OneDrive. OneDrive is a special one.
Why is OneDrive such a pain all the time?
It's there's the
Microsoft
OneDrive,
is
they're having a
problematic lately
time,
in
man.
general. Yeah.
The latest, I feel bad for those engineers. I pour one out thinking about some of the stuff they're dealing with right now.
Our software updated what? Like, it's like,
did you hear one of them? You open an Excel sheet and it opens up Microsoft Word. And I was like, man, if that happened to me, I would need another cup of tea. Like, there's some fun stuff going on over there with some of the latest versions. Icons being swapped, so you have the wrong icon.
I've definitely seen that, but it's even like non-Microsoft apps. So like we had, there's a report from a colleague of like their VPN software was like replaced by Word or Excel or something. I've seen from a client like Google, Chrome got replaced by Excel or vice versa. Oh no, it was Excel got replaced by Chrome. So they like click on Excel, it won't launch, and then you go to like where Excel is in the applications folder, and it's got the Google Chrome icon, and it's like copyright Google whatever, so it's like actually Google Chrome, but it says it's Microsoft Excel. So Microsoft is the common thread in all of this, and unfortunately, like their engineers, I don't know like what they did wrong, but it looks like a total mess right now.
They're not having a fun time.
But so OneDrive is special.
If you install it from the App Store, whether it's through Apps and Books or just somebody manually went, it has a different bundle ID. And if you try to run an installer over the top of it, no matter where you get it from, doesn't matter. It will not. The installer will fail and say you need to do it from the Mac App Store. So now we skip those. That was a recent fun one. We test everything, obviously, before we add it to the catalog. But some of those use cases, like, I never had OneDrive. We don't use OneDrive really. And if I did, I never would have had it from Apps and Books. It's only something that customers bring up.
Good point. Yeah.
But yeah, usually it doesn't matter except for OneDrive, where it came from. The thing that we do care about is if it's in the user application folders. We do not actually check that. We hope that everyone's installing things on the system application level as best practices should be.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. Depends on the history of the device. So that's something I'm kind of looking at, maybe remediating. Finding a good path through that.
Interesting.
I mean, I haven't seen a client use that user applications folder in quite some time, but it's possible.
It comes up every now and then.
With relation to that, with relation to the origin of the app, and you mentioned the App Store, is there a process where if you wanted to update something that came, besides OneDrive, obviously, but like something that came from Apps and Books, to have to convert that to a non-Apps and Books app or anything to be able to continue updating?
Usually we just run an installer over the top. Most Apps and Books things don't really mind how you do that. Same thing with if you've installed it manually. There have been some issues like helper tools, right? Helper tools get in the way more than they help.
Slack.
Slack. Firefox is my other one that is really annoying, because if you have the Firefox helper tool running, sometimes that can corrupt. If you try to install, it doesn't matter if it's pre-built apps doing it, if it's Electrona, if it's, you're doing auto PKG, like if you go and manually install the PKG, you download it. If you try to do that over the top of something, the helper tool can sometimes freak out and it corrupts the app. And the only way to fix it is to delete the app and reinstall it, which we can do pretty nicely with pre-built apps because we have it in Go Live. So you can just go do the one-off install. It'll install the latest version.
Right.
So we've seen that one come up a lot. And what I'm usually telling people is choose one update method. Don't try to, have a helper tool running and then have pre-built apps and then maybe a third option,
It's kind of like
decide.
antivirus, right? It's
Yeah.
like, people are like, I just want all the coverage, and that leads you to like a slow system or, conflicts or whatever. So that's good advice in general. But I mean, to your point, you kind of have to actively block those other methods, like I
Yeah.
did with Microsoft. My
That's-
solution was, you guys can't stop, corrupting my whatever, like swapping apps, and like it's like a game of musical chairs. Like I'm just gonna stop the Microsoft stuff and just like handle the updates myself, because that seems to be more reliable for whatever reason. But I'm curious, Selena, on that point, because maybe you've dealt with this more, like, talking about the Microsoft stuff. Has something changed in Apple's like installer process that anyone's aware of? Because it seems like there's the opportunity more lately for like a race condition where, Firefox helper tool or Microsoft like auto update is trying to do some stuff that's probably using the installer process, and like meanwhile, Addigy or Jamf or some other tool is like deploying software, and it has nothing to do with they have nothing to do with each other than the fact that they're installing software, and like the common thread is like Apple, and their maybe installer binary or something. So that's my theory on this, is like Apple changed something and all these tools are suffering, as a result.
Yeah.
Uninformed theory, but yeah.
I've heard of it. It's kind of one of those two things. My background came from tech support at Jamf. And I spent a lot of time looking at sysdiagnose logs. And whenever I've heard it happen to a customer where an install or something's getting corrupted, usually people are just like, I just want it to work. I don't care. Don't tell me.
Right. Don't figure out why this just just fix it. Yeah.
Which, I understand. You want to get the end user back up and running as soon as possible. And so people just end up deleting the corrupted app and pushing a fresh install with whatever method you prefer. So I haven't spent too much time digging into the sysdiagnose logs, but I have had some of the anecdotal stuff that you're talking about. Usually people ping me when there's a install issue, because which is helpful. I do want to roll out pre-built apps as early as possible. So when I heard about the Microsoft stuff, I was like sliding into conversations and being like, hey,
exactly right. This isn't us, right? Like,
do I
do
I need to get someone on this, or
right? No, I went immediately to patch because I happened to see on a client system that reported this the next morning. The prior night I was on the system doing some updates and things, and I saw in the patch little menu, it had some updates happening and then they failed, and then like I saw they came back, and then it just wasn't clear, it wasn't happening smoothly. And that was a flag in my head, but it seemed like it worked out. And then the next morning I heard that Excel became Chrome. I'm like, what? So I thought, okay, let me just find out if Electrona is like aware of this, if it's related, because I happen to see that one machine. And they pointed me to this Microsoft thread where it's like clearly a Microsoft auto update bug, or it's triggered by that. But yeah, you think, who's involved here? Who are the players? And it's usually something that's getting installed by one of these tools plus Microsoft. And so seems to be on them, but I guess we'll see.
maybe it was a Halloween thing,
Right. Yeah, costume.
A trick instead of a treat. So to that end, this is something that probably plagues every kind of update tool, I would assume. But since each app may have a different mechanism for providing its own auto updates, is there any best practice or guidance, or do you have any hopes of possibly finding ways with config profiles to like turn these off on the, let's say the popular apps, I'll say, because you can't get everything.
That's a good idea. Like an option to maybe like deploy a profile that just turns everything else off that might have been there. Yeah.
Yes. I have that on my backlog for a few of these, the troublesome ones. Slack and Firefox are the ones I hear about the most. Some people prefer to use the Microsoft tool instead of pre-built apps, which is fine. Just use something that works.
Right.
But make sure then pre-built apps, what is your strategy there, because you don't want them fighting.
Right.
So I want to make that something pre-built apps does provide is MDM profiles already. We're still working on the PPPC profiles. That one's been kind of tricky because we don't know what everyone's environment really is, and we don't use every app in the catalog. So we don't want to blanket allow everything for
Yeah,
obvious
allow
reasons.
everybody full disk access. That defeats the whole purpose. Yeah, right.
So we've been trying to go through every single app and give it the minimum required permissions. But I've worked with a lot of customers that use Zoom that can't have screen share for government reasons, And so it's like, all right, well, they explicitly deny that. Obviously, that's not the MDM profile that we would choose to have. So we've been working on those. Some apps do have the profiles. Every app that needs a system extension or something like that does have it. And some apps might need more, like we just added Microsoft Defender. So that one's really tricky. And we were holding it back because we were waiting for release notes to tell people like, hey, this is more than just like, yeah, you can keep it up to date, but please, for the love of God, have the other MDM profiles. We can't provide that for you. That's your own stuff that you need to configure for your environment. But with that, I do want to add those helper tools and make those MDM profiles optional, because maybe some people want to do their own thing. They don't want our profiles, which is fine.
Right.
My feelings aren't hurt by that.
Yeah.
No, it
Definitely
makes sense
easier. Yeah. If you
to have like an option, right? Or maybe you can set them some sliders. But yeah, that's a bit of I know that's probably secondary to what you're trying to do initially. It was just popped into my head as a very nice option that you don't see a lot elsewhere to take care of the ancillary additional side pieces of what the apps actually do on their own.
Yeah.
Selina, in your internal testing, how harmoniously has other competing update solutions worked with the Addigy solution? So I know there's Rooted Consulting, right? Of course, they make a solution, and of course, Electrona Patch. What have you seen? Because it's been my experience, I use Patch like Joe and Sam prior to you coming out with your product or updating the product. And for the most part, I haven't seen much friction at all. They seem to coexist in harmony with each other. But is that internally what you've seen?
Yeah, I haven't had too many complaints. The biggest thing that pre-build apps that is my next big priority that we need to work on is the end user notifications. That definitely causes fatigue. I am very painfully aware of it. Again, we use it. So at the end of my day, it should actually be happening fairly soon. I should get about 6 pre-build apps notifications, at least 6. So that's been a complaint with people who are using other solutions of like, hey, can you just not have any? I don't want the end user to see anything at all. Just don't show them. I'm doing my own thing or I'm using something else. We have a few customers too that we have APIs available for pre-build apps. So they've been using that and playing with like the Route 3 app and kind of trying to get around having a self-service type thing, which I guess could be a segue into Michaela and pre-build apps and self-service. I get at least once a week, maybe realistically 6 to 7 requests a week about pre-built apps and self-service.
Nice. Yeah, this is where this ties in.
That wasn't intentional. That was a nice little
very nice segue.
We can tell we have a fellow podcaster in the mix.
That's right.
Perfect. So with self-service, as of next week, we will be releasing an update that will allow you to actually include any sort of pre-built apps into your self-service application. We definitely have more planned to help out that end user experience, kind of like what Selina was alluding to earlier with those notifications and stuff. But this should definitely help out with some of that end user experience. So if you wanted to make it optional for your end users, this is kind of where you would do it in your self-service application. And so, next week is when we will be releasing it, as long as everything goes to plan. There's my caveat. So
that's very cool. So that would be like all those 8 web browsers or whatever you might have configured, for update only in pre-built apps. You can choose to show them in self-service, and people can like install Brave or Edge or whatever they want. And then it will be updated by pre-built apps going forward. So it kind of ties in both options there.
So one caveat as well is that if you do show it in self-service, we do show the latest version. So if it's something like you want an individual version actually on that device, don't show it in self-service.
Okay.
But outside of that, most people are wanting to keep their apps updated
Right.
and to the latest version. So typically we don't see problems with that.
Nice. And is that a separate tab, or will it be a separate tab in self-service, or like just part of?
Great question.
Yeah.
Great question. So at first, this is going to just look like any other asset that exists today. So public library, smart software, Apple apps, it's going to look the same, all a part of that install tab. In the future, though, that's where we are looking at changing that experience, potentially having like an updates tab, potentially having some functionality in the menu bar app, just making it convenient for the end users. Can't promise anything quite yet, but that's what we're looking at.
This
I
could
don't know about you
maybe-
guys, but I can see Michaela has something that she can't
Yeah,
see.
for
like-
sure. Yeah.
I'm building it.
There's some
in my
knowing
head.
glances happening here for the
Yeah.
listeners at home, you know. But yeah, this sounds like maybe addressing the Selina's point about notification fatigue, and you could, you know, kind of like incorporate that into a centralized system potentially, where you don't have like each app alerting, but you have a central place where it's like, this is updating, you know, these were just updated, and, you know, here's the 3 that still need an update whenever you're ready, you know, kind of thing. And I mean, it's a balance. We talk about this all the time, where sometimes we want to, like, we have to force the update because it's for their own good, it's for security, and it really needs to be done by a certain deadline, or that's just the company policy. Other times, you know, you really want to defer to the user and say, you know, we strongly encourage you, or we gently encourage you, but it's up to you. So it's a tricky balance to, like, for you to implement this in software to like address all of our collective concerns and all the end users' collective concerns. And, you know, how do you make it extensible enough to do that, but not overcomplicated? I'm sure it's an interesting challenge.
Yeah, that was actually what was so great about the beta process. Is me and my designer Max probably spent close to 150 hours on calls with customers. We spoke to so many people, showing and at conferences and at everywhere. I was just grabbing people and being like, "Hey, I don't even care if you're a customer. Like, do you have 5 minutes? Like, can I?"
Nice.
Would you say 100%? Well, at least 100 hours was from Tim Pearson at Creative Tech.
Tim was probably maybe 15 to 20.
Nice.
He had a lot of feedback. I think he is definitely one of our heaviest users of pre-built apps. So he's kind of,
Awesome.
when I look at like doing things at scale right now, he's kind of the standard of, well, will this work for Tim? We have a few customers that do things on a much wider basis than even we do internally at Addigy.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, all right, well, we think about them when we're thinking about stress testing systems.
Nice.
But yeah, we got on a lot of calls, and my goal for that, because this had a few product managers throughout the time. It was a project that internally had been discussed at Addigy for I've been at Addigy for 2 years, and I think it was handed to me when I started, and it was already 1.5 years, 2 years deep.
Wow.
It was a long, long, long time. There were a lot of opinions about it. And I kind of started from scratch and talked to a bunch of customers and was like, look, I'm going to keep talking to people until I can guess what you're going to say. And if I stop hearing new things, then I think I understand where we're at. And we're super proud with what we've built. We're not done at all with it. There's a ton of things that I'm aware of. I'm painfully aware. And part of that comes from all of those conversations where we had some customers that were like, we used to notify people every 30 minutes, which was pretty brutal. Every time the policy ran in the early days. And some customers were like, yeah, I want you to nag the hell out of these people, you know, like I want these things to update in 2.5 hours and I don't care about their feelings. And I was like, okay,
And
good for you.
Yeah.
But we have other customers obviously that are like, yeah, I don't want them to see anything. They shouldn't know that we're doing things, which was more the norm. But you know, that was kind of an example of the extremes, and we're trying to get at a solution that is flexible enough for those people who are like, yeah, I want to bug my people every 30 minutes. I don't care about them. Which is an opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't have to always agree with the opinion. I still have to plan for it, right?
Sure.
Very
If
true.
if you get enough other people that are validating like that, that's a valid approach, I guess,
Yeah.
because otherwise you might get a one-off person that's just like does things
Mhm.
differently, and you're making a whole, you have a whole like weeks of your time devoted to like creating a feature for one person, which I mean, I don't hear a lot of complaints from my fellow Addigy users about like things that are lacking. So I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody's getting their needs met, but in different ways. But yeah, I'm sure you might also have those exceptional cases too.
Yeah, people also know my email and who I am on Mac Admin Slack, so I get a lot of messages about particularly pre-built apps requests. But
Sure.
that was why I had spent so much time. I think throughout the process, we had spoken to maybe 70 different customers, 70, 80,
Mm-hmm.
and all different sizes, different industries, different needs, and it gave us a ton of feedback of things that we didn't realize were so important for some people, and
bet.
were critical for others. And it's been fun prioritizing it and trying to figure out,
Yeah.
how do we make everyone happy, or how do we not piss off
We've
the most
we've
people?
summoned Tim Pearson, one of your esteemed beta testers here, and he's psyched about he just saw the alert. I mean, because you literally
Yeah.
made this announcement, I guess, like
Just
right before we
posted.
started recording.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Tim's all in on this on these updates. So thanks for being here, Tim. Yeah, it's so great to just hear about all these exciting features. It's one of the things I love about Addigy, and I feel like I backed the right company like in the early days of my getting into MDM basically, because Addigy has been right there with me. Like as I've grown and evolved my consultancy and learned best practices, Addigy is implementing new features. I've spoken extremely highly over all these years about live desktop being like one of those really early
Your
features
favorite.
that
Oh yeah.
it's so great. It's amazing. It just works so reliably, and that's how I work remotely, like for so easily with all my clients. And so it's just like I think about like what would I do without X, Y, or Z, and these are the features, like all these things from Addigy. So I would encourage anyone. I hear from colleagues out there who are not doing any mobile device management, who are not using a system like Addigy to remotely manage their Macs, and I get it. I was there, like I said, Jerry's our beta tester. He's always right there. Sam's always been in this world. I've been the one that they've dragged in kicking and screaming. Actually, Jason himself, I guess formerly the CEO, right? Jason's the CTO now?
CTO.
Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, I mean, Jason was there like in person in the early days being like, you guys got to try this. All I ask is that you just try this. And he was so right. Like, you just have to try it. And getting into these features along the way has provided the tools that I've needed in my business to actually like evolve my consulting practices and offer services that now is a bundle of services that's my monthly plan. Like it's largely it's like Addigy features that are right there for my clients. And so yeah, it's such an important piece of the puzzle for me. So thank you both for your efforts on the features you're working on, and just making sure they work well for all of us, because it's I have my particular way, but
Not just
Sam
for
has
Tim.
his chair. Yeah, it's not just about Tim Pearson. Exactly. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have been busy. I mean, like no kidding. So it's cool to see these pieces being produced and come out like virtually at the almost one after the other. And with the self-service piece coming out soon too. Well, we hope, right? Very soon too. So
Yeah. It's scheduled. And then Assist.
That.
Yeah. So then there's the tie-in. Is this also between pre-built apps and Addigy Assist? Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we will be adding pre-built apps to Addigy Assist, where you can seamlessly, if it's already a part of your policy, you'll be able to decide if you want to show or hide it to your end user. And then basically the Assist app will be tracking its installation, checking if it's, currently installing, if it failed, if anything happens, it will be tracking it. And also there's some retry logic in there. So if anything does happen, to some extent, it will also then retry depending upon what's going on the device. So we try to make it as seamless as possible. That will be coming in the future. And then also we have I'm just going to drop another
Cool.
big announcement that we are going to be having. It's not officially scheduled yet, but Identity V3 will be dropping. So basically that is, you can test it out today as a beta tester in a separate policy, and you can try it out. Basically, it's a whole brand new UI, kind of matches Addigy Assist. That's kind of the route that we're headed. If you can see a design pattern going on there, you can kind of see where we're headed. So basically you can try it out, test out that new UI. It's a login window for those who aren't familiar with Addigy Identity. Basically, you can authenticate with your identity provider directly at the macOS login screen and sync that password. So yeah, highly recommend testing that out. But we will be moving that from the beta channel to the production channel. I would say, potentially beginning of December.
Nice. Awesome. Wow. Yeah.
And
Speaking of
quick.
a lot of changes, a lot of constant effort is awesome.
And the identity piece is pretty interesting just for those of people that haven't used it. I mean, to be able to use your single sign-on credentials from your IDP is pretty big for a lot of different reasons, security and compliance. But you guys offer it up for, the big players, right? Entra, Okta. Is it also customizable for the off-brand IDPs? Or is it?
So as of today, no, it is not. But we do highly recommend to report back to us if there's an IDP that's not supported.
Okay, very cool. But the interface is going to get a nice little facelift.
Yep. We do. That is also Swift UI that got fully revamped. And we also have better logic for end users. So when they try to type in their password, let's say you have a pretty tight security policy on that device itself, we actually tell the user when it's locked out. So then they stop trying and then they contact you. That way you don't feel like you're going crazy and you're like, I don't know why I can't sign in. So we definitely have better prompting, but more intuitive. Also, it's something that if you have our current MDM core package of Addigy, we don't charge for it. So that's something else that's pretty different between us and a lot of the other solutions on the market today.
Nice. That's really good to know.
And you can migrate existing users over to the IDP, which is pretty key. I mean, that's something you can't do with Platform SSO on built into Mac OS. So it's a pretty big deal to be able to offer that and not disrupt the users' lives, I would say.
Very interesting. We have some more feedback from Mike Kingsley of the Kingsley Mac. He says he got talked into trying Addigy at the second ACES conference back in Austin in 2016 and never looked back. So another, long time, almost decade-long user of Addigy in those early days, and consistently still using it today. So, in case anyone out there needed more encouragement, again, there are colleagues out there who just aren't doing it yet, and I remember where I was at, thinking about, MDM and IDP and all these acronyms and just it's word salad and, letters flying around my head. And I'm just it sounds like a lot, it just sounds like a lot to learn. And, I don't have time for it. And so that was my hesitation. And really all it took was installing it, figuring it out, playing around with it, trying things. It's nice to have an extra Mac to try things on. So that's really all you need is a second Mac that you can just mess with and an account to try it out, and then just see what it can do and see what we've been talking about over all these years, because it becomes a service offering for your clients. And actually, I was just talking about this on a patron only show, how much I've been able to leverage the automation that Addigy and these types of tools enables to change the way my business works. I'm able to have revenue come in through other means than I was having before I had this kind of service. I used to be it's just, hours of my time was the only kind of lever that I had. And now I have, Addigy doing things for me when I'm sleeping and managing computers and updating things and, giving me the tools to support people when they ask for help. So it just covers all the bases. So again, I don't know how else to say it. Just if you're one of the probably relatively few, I think there's probably maybe, 25% of our listeners that, maybe aren't doing anything or haven't tried Addigy. give it a try. Just dive in. Do either of you know, like, what's the best channel to like direct them to? I mean, obviously Addigy.com, but is there like a point of contact or a way to just get started with a trial, something like that?
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot, because it's not your job.
This is
but
where
yeah.
like, oh, product managers. It's like when
Yeah.
people ask me, how much does
It's-
Addigy cost? And I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even know. I don't know either.
Dollar
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's I
I
would
think
just direct people
we
to.
have a new website actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
We
we just
did.
launched. It's still Addigy.com, but we
Right.
redesigned it so it's nice and pretty. And there
Oh
is
my God, yeah, it is. This is cool.
Addigy.com/free-trial.
Thank you. Okay.
That's how to get in contact with us. We will reach out. And then the other thing too is even if you try us out and you don't like it, that's fine. Again, my feelings are never hurt.
Mhm.
Mine
Um,
would be hurt. I've been saying, I've been encouraging people over all these years. I'd be a little insulted if they didn't like it.
I
but
mean, so if you don't like it, please let us know why.
yeah, good point.
And even if you're a current customer, I say it a lot in every webinar that I've ever been on with Addigy customers is product@addigy.com. Like that does go to mine and
Mhm.
Michaela's and
Nice.
Joelle's and Bryce's. And I think
Mhm.
Jason's on that. Like we all get those emails and we do look at them
Yeah.
and try to respond to them all.
Wow.
So I mean, I love hearing, especially around pre-built apps when people are loving it, we get a lot of really positive feedback and the engineering team really loves it. They get those feedback emails. But I mean, please send your nice feedbacks. Those
That's
are great
true.
too. But like, I
That's-
also really want to know if you're in pain or something that you hate.
Of course. Yep.
Because then I can actually do something about that. Otherwise, I'm just like, yeah, everything's perfect. Everyone loves it. We're done.
Yeah.
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 And we're never done.
And
Great
especially like don't leave out the how your end users feel. Like
Mm.
so primarily what a lot of what I work on at Addigy has to do with the end user experience. So Addigy identity, self-service on iPhone, iPad, Mac, like Addigy Assist, like tons of things that overall has to do with the general experience for end users. And oftentimes, obviously, I'm not there in person talking to your end users and I can't interview them or jump on a podcast with them. But overall, like knowing how they feel about something, even if it's something that you feel like maybe Addigy can't change, letting us know that feedback,
Mhm.
then we can help direct you to the right places. If it's Apple, if it's us, if it's, another vendor, really, really helps.
Nice. That's great to know. I will say on pre-built apps, just to kind of round this out, just like I said with Addigy Assist, it's so easy to just get started. Like, so my positive feedback is I had a client just a couple weeks ago say, hey, it's like half the staff needs Canva. Is there a way that you guys can like quickly deploy that? And I'm like, Addigy pre-built apps. So I just went in, do you support Canva? There it is. Canva's there. So check a couple boxes, click it, it deploys to all that policies max. And just like that, one email from the client, my email response was like, okay, it's all set. That's it. They can just find it in their applications folder. It was that simple. And so there's one little bit of positive feedback because I know you do probably hear a lot more of the negative feedback with like we do from our clients. No news is good news, but like it'd be nice to hear the good news sometimes also. But that was my experience with it, again, without having like, I was aware it existed and I didn't have to read documentation. That's the best kind of feature for me, is when I can just go to that section and like, does this screen make sense? I think I understand this. Click, click, click. And yeah, it works the way I expect. So, that's good for me. Like, I can't even imagine really, I think maybe some of the other areas are more complex, like user facing stuff, but that one works so well. Just to like, again, for anyone out there who hasn't tried it yet, just try it. So, when your client asks, like you have the facility to just
the resources. I think that's what we've seen over the years is as Addigy has developed and matured as a product, it sometimes is difficult to add simplicity to the process because the more layers that we keep on piling on to a product, it takes away some of that simplicity. And so beautiful to have both of your products work so seamlessly and so easily. Like Joe said at the top of the show, you don't have to read anything. You could figure it out. And that's really what we appreciate as technicians here in working with the product. And the lighter the touch, I think we all three of us believe this, the better, as far as the more the clients don't see, the easier it is for us to do our jobs in a way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
it's something that we've been working on a lot. And it's something we're continuing to work on with our existing features, where I think the whole UX is getting redesigned and looking at, so stuff that you may hate or it hasn't been worked on in years, right? Addigy's been around for a while now. We are always trying to take a look. And so if there is a part of Addigy that's not related to these two things that you guys absolutely hate, or anyone who's listening hates, reach out to us and let's talk about it.
Nice.
I
have a couple feature requests just to put out there into the ether. My thing is the go live page. No, it's not. There's nothing I dislike about like the it works great, but
no, I just your feature requests are usually pretty big. So let's see.
Yeah, this will be easier. This will take a couple hours, but no, like I envision on the go live screen all the custom facts and all the things there. Like maybe there's like a edit mode, and then you can so you click edit or whatever, and then it's the check boxes appear. You click a checkbox and it puts it at the top. So it'd be like, a checkbox column that would just be like show at the top, or, better wording than that. And so maybe just some custom, because I find myself always wondering like, okay, I created a custom fact is the user active like on the system, which steal that and build it in. That would actually be really cool. But that one I do like my little search for to see like, is it a green dot? That means they're actively like on the system. I'm not going to just jump on right now because they're like in front of the screen. And the other one is like uptime, checking the uptime of the system. I'm trying to think a couple more like IP addresses, some very basic stuff like that. It's there. I can just scroll and find it or Command F or whatever, but to be able to just like customize that page. So, you didn't ask for like live feedback requests.
No, it's good. I'm here for it.
Makes sense.
But okay. So,
all right, that one's acceptable, Joe. That's not.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah. Okay, good.
That's awesome.
No, this is awesome. It's great. Thank you both for making the time to talk to us today and, share some of what you've been working on and hear our live feedback requests and feature requests and things. And it's been really, really great to get to chat with both of you and hear more about this and see it and try it out. And again, like I said, I'd encourage all of our listeners to try, these new features from Addigy. And if you haven't tried Addigy, definitely try Addigy. And you can use my favorite live desktop, which is something I will never stop talking about. Isn't it great?
It's so good. So I have a really funny story about live desktop, kind of short, but I'm gonna budge in and say it.
Please.
My partner, so my house, I use Home Assistant in my network. Everything's smart lights. I don't have any light switches that actually work. And my partner is a tech Luddite, and I designed a whole dashboard for him that was like a really dumbed down how to use the house. And I was in the UK at Macaduck, and something wasn't working. Some light, I think Hugh had an update and something had broken. And so I'm at Macaduck, and I know there's no way I can talk him into figuring out the IP address and logging in and doing, because I wasn't using Home Assistant Cloud back then. So I live desktop into my test machine on my desk, and then from there on the local network, fix the Home Assistant stuff. And from a conference hotel,
amazing,
in the UK on the other side of the world, being like, all right, I fixed it.
Nicely done. It's like magic. Yeah, exactly. People are still thrilled. My clients are thrilled every time I go and swoop in and do that. And they're amazed that like we have this ability to, just support them by almost being there. And like you are, across the ocean and providing support. So yeah, that's
key.
Great
to
example.
Selina's point, though, helping our own family is always the most difficult task.
Yes, it is.
Most stressful.
Yeah, totally. I think we can all relate to that. Well, thank you both, Selina and Michaela, for joining us on Command Control Power. And again, I'd invite everyone to find out more at Addigy.com. I know you both also show up for the Addigy does regular, live streams as well for different feature releases and things. Do you have anything coming up like that where people can join and ask their questions?
We did just have a League of Champions where you can sign up to receive the recording of that. If you want to check out more in depth of everything that is coming out, that we recently released. So we have League of Champions there.
Nice.
And then also you can sign up for future ones, and we'll kind of notify everyone when we do have those live, and you can actually interact with all the product managers, because just because one is presenting, behind the scenes is the entire team, and we're all answering questions. So yeah, highly encourage that. You also have your customer success manager and your help center. So you can always reach out, and they can always, you know, bring us in as well.
And your channel in Slack is also very active as well.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Slack and
Yeah.
Reddit. And yeah, we're in a lot of places, to be honest with you. We're just kind of like
Amazing.
everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll see me in the Addigy channel pretty regularly on Mac admins, especially if it's a pre-built apps question. I'll swoop in before Ponds.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Nicely done. That's hard to do, but
That's,
yeah,
it is
well
hard
done.
to do.
Yeah, no, that's also another very impressive thing about Addigy as a company is how present you are with, again, those channels where not only you're doing the work, releasing the features, you have your first party, like, League of Champions and those things, but you're out there accessible to your customers who are asking questions and getting answers, sometimes from the person who designed the thing or built the thing. So it's very, very impressive. Well, thank you again for joining us, Michaela Gilman and Selina Ali from Addigy. Thank you both so much for spending the time with us. Really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
Guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.